At Limble, we often get asked if we use barcodes or QR codes in our system. And the answer is yes, we actually do it in multiple ways. The first way is through work requests. Now, before I go into the QR code portion of that, I'm going to explain how work requests function in Limble. So I'm going to go over here to the work request section, and you can see that each location has its own work request link. And there's also a global one. Now, these can be customized, but what I'm going to show you is the one that comes standard, and then you can customize it in other ways from there. So the first thing you see here is this is a link that you can share with anyone. They do not need to have a Limble account to report problems. And if this is opened up on a desktop computer, it looks like this. If it's opened up on the phone, it looks very similar, but the functionality will be slightly different, and that's going to be different in the attaching a photo. So if you attach a picture from your desktop, then you just need to use a photo album that you have. But if you get to use your phone with it, you can actually snap a picture directly with your phone. And that can be really useful when it comes to reporting problems, because a lot of people that are reporting problems don't know how to describe it. Maybe they don't have that technical background, but they do know that there's an issue. And if they can take a picture of it, it can really help the technical team know what the issue is before they even get there. Now, there's a couple other features that I really love about the work request section. So, they can name the problem and everything, and you can add more sections here if you'd like, but what I really love is the email section. So when they put in their email, they get notifications. You can turn this setting off, but if you leave it on, then they will get notifications whenever a comment is left on the work or whenever the work is completed. So that can be really great for your technical team to be able to communicate with a work requester without having to do additional emails, calls, texts, whatever that is. So as an example, John gets the work and he writes on a note on the work, I can't get to this until tomorrow. Well, the person who requested it now knows and then isn't going to be calling up asking where is that person to come fix this problem. And then when that problem is fixed, the work is completed, entered in Limble, that person will also receive an email saying that work that you requested has been recorded. So it simplifies that communication. Another thing I want to show you is they can actually select what is having the problem. They say they're not sure, but also here you can see that there is a complete list of all the assets. Now you can have them go through it this way, or they can decide to just search it. So if they know that it's in the bathroom, they can just start typing in bathroom, and here it is on the list. Now, going back to how QR codes work with this system. So this link is something that can be shared over email. You can have them save it to their computer, but there are some situations where it may be better to just have a physical place where you can put this, and that is what the QR code is for. Now, you do not need the Limble app to scan QR codes. You can scan this with any scanning app that's out there, and that makes it really easy for people to report problems. So if you put this in a location, it will take them to that same work request screen that we saw before. So you can put this, maybe if it's on the manufacturing floor, people don't have access to laptops, but they may have access to their phones, and you can put it on the wall, for example. Now, you can customize who these work requests are going to, and you can do that for the entire facility or entire location. However, there is actually more in depth that you can go into this, and let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm actually going to go to that same golf course, and I'm going to go to the Manage Assets section, and we're going to go to that bathroom we saw earlier. So in the top right corner, there is a QR code button. Now, this QR code is to report a problem specifically for the bathroom. So you can put this in the bathroom, and then when somebody uses this to report a problem, it lets you know that it's the bathroom and not something else. Now, again, this also has a link, but the QR code is what makes it easy for people to use in a physical way. And there's actually a second barcode here. So this is the second way we use QR codes. Now, this QR code is something that can only be accessed if you have a Limble account, and if you, of course, belong to an organization that would allow you to view this. Of course, if a Limble account from some other company were to come in, they still would not be able to view this because they're not part of your organization. But this is the technician section barcode or QR code. And what this will allow someone to do is once they scan it, they will be able to view that asset. And that can make it really easy. I've seen this as an example. there's a fleet of vehicles, each vehicle needs the mileage updated. Somebody can just go over to each one, scan it, update the miles, go to the next one. And so that is a really great feature for looking up that information. Or instead of maybe updating some information on it, they scan it and then it opens up the manual for that item. Now, I am going to move on to the third way that we use barcodes, and that is in the Manage Parts section. Now, managing inventory is really important. In fact, we have found that people that use inventory management save 17% of their budget in inventory. That's pretty crazy, and the reason why that is because when you have inventory, you either have too much on hand, which means you're just sitting on money, or what's even worse is you run out faster than you expect. So if you go to get a part and then it's not there, that means that you have to either send someone to the store, so there's labor involved in that, or you have to order online and you have to do priority shipping, or you can't choose a vendor that can give it to you for a lower price, but you have to buy it in bulk. So there's all sorts of issues with not having the right amount of inventory on the shelves. So let me show you what you can do with this. Each line of inventory that you have comes with this setting that you can choose for a minimum part quantity threshold. So what that means for this item, 20 items. So that means that at all times you want to have 20 in the system. If you ever fall below 20, look what happens here. Two things. First, it's going to turn red here. Second, it's going to create a task for the manager or whoever you decide to buy more of those parts. So that way you will buy parts before you run out and you're not sending someone to buy more expensive parts last minute. Now to get to the QR code portion. So there's a QR code button right here. And what this does is it allows you to put this QR code wherever you store that item physically. So how I often see this is somebody has a warehouse where they keep all of the bins of their components and their reusable parts, or their single-use parts I should say, and then they put one of these QR codes here. So when somebody goes to grab, in this case, this is a 90-degree angle, when they go to grab that, they pull it out, they scan it real quick with their phone, and then they can update the quantity of that in the bin. So that way it really makes it simple to keep the correct quantity in the software and have that reflect what is really happening in real life. Because that's the important thing about any software system. It has to be so simple to use that people will use it and keep it up to date, because everything that's in Limble is only good as what's being put in. And that's why Limble does so many things to make sure that it happens in real time and that it is correct. There's a couple other things about this inventory management that are important. You've seen how I can just enter things in manually, but with work you can actually attach inventory to it. So there was this broken sprinkler head, for example, and when I select it, this is looking at it from the view of a technician who's going to complete this work. Now before completing the work, I can add a part, and I can choose which part that is. Maybe for this one I had to use an elbow, so I'm going to select that and I can complete the number of parts that were used in that. And once I complete this work, it'll update the system. Oh, it's saying I need to actually complete the work here, which is great. In Limble you can't finish work without completing all the steps. And so I use 2 of these parts. Actually, let's move that down to 1. I put in the amount of time I spent on that. Here you go. Great. So that is one way that parts can be attached to work. Now in a PM, so that's in a planned maintenance, you can actually already attach parts to it. So if we know that every time I do this maintenance, I'm going to use, I don't know, some grass, for example. I'm going to use this 20-pound bag of grass. I add that to it, and now whenever somebody goes to complete that, it's going to automatically assume that that grass is being used, and of course they can change the part quantity. Maybe they only used, 1.5 bags, so they can change that as they're completing the work. So those are the 3 main ways that Limble uses QR codes. There's the work request that we saw. There is the specific work request and technician searching for an asset. And then there is the manage parts, or the inventory management.